Welcome to the Bible Breakdown. It's a black man and woman in America who no longer identify as believers. This show contains adult languages, themes, and isn't meant for children. As black people, we respect the history of the black church in America, but its current state is massively abusive, and we think the Bible might be part of the problem. Listen and let us know what you think. Peace.
Okay, and we're recording. So, how are you doing, sir?
A little frustrated today, but
I was picking up on that. What's so frustrating?
I'll still technically test positive for COVID. And so even though I got a vaccine, even though I'm quarantined for 2.5 weeks, still technically I'm testing positive. I was supposed to do a shoot on Friday and they told me don't fucking show up because you're still positive and insurance does not want us to have you on set. And I was like, well, I got a vaccine. They said, we don't give a shit. They said, we'll still pay you because it's not your fault, but this is hindering my future plans for everything because now if I have gigs, do they accept?
Well, I mean, a lot of places, they don't ask for, at least, I mean, the places I've been going, they haven't been asking for the test if I've had the vaccine.
Yeah, which is frustrating, especially since this particular thing dealt with health and it was like promoting people to go get the vaccine. I've already had the vaccine and I actually had COVID, but whatever.
Our world is dumb. And speaking of dumb, welcome back to the Bible Breakdown. We're just here to talk about the
good Jesus.
Well, we haven't even gotten to Jesus yet. We got like,
all right, good Abraham.
Till we get to Jesus. But yeah, we've been so last time on the Bible Breakdown, we basically I felt like I learned that Abraham and Sarah were sort of the Jaime and Cersei Lannister of the Bible.
Okay. Hey, I don't know.
And if you don't like my Game of Thrones dated reference, then this obviously isn't the show for you.
Yeah, I don't know if I would give them that much credit, but okay.
I mean, I'm just saying they both are very unsympathetic characters and are brother and sister and are married to each other and having kids.
Well, they're just written that way. They're not bad. They're just drawn that way.
Mm-hmm. And what else happened? Oh, but today, let's just talk about today, because this is something that people actually recognize from the Bible, which is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. Oh, we also learned too that God likes to barter. That was kind of cool. Because actually for something that's supposed to be God's book, God doesn't really show up that often as a character. So when the big guy makes an appearance, it's kind of a big deal. So learning about that, God can be talked out of destroying, but not really though, because we learned that he told Abraham, he's like, hey, I won't kill them. He was like, never mind. Yes, I am. Tell your nephew to get out. Spoiler. But yeah, we're going to chapter 19. We're finally on the same page. Bible.com, standard revised version or revert, whatever it is. What is
New
it?
Revised Standard Version is what we're reading.
New Revised Standard Version. Is that the New Revised? We're doing the New American. Wait, we're just on the app. It just says Revised Standard Version.
All right. We go through this every single episode. Are you on YouVersion Bible app?
Yes.
You should be able to change to.
I am. Okay, because there's New Reader's Version, New Revised Standard. Jeez, oh Pete. Okay, there we go. New Revised Standard Version. All
right, so New Revised Standard Version is what we're reading from, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with Genesis 19. The depravity of Sodom. Depravity of Sodom.
We're in the Midwest too. We probably pronounce stuff wrong all the time. Everybody just be cool. Everybody be cool.
Oh, and before I start, I just want to say rest in peace to Dante Wright. I think that's his name, right?
May perpetual light shine upon him.
Yeah. Just want to say rest in peace to him. Cops is out here tripping. hard. And but we'll save that for another time. Just wanted to
We're Christians. Fun.
just wanted to send our love and support to the people of what is that, Minnesota that they're right? Yeah.
And everywhere, because there's a lot of them that don't make the news. So everybody who
for sure.
who lost people to the struggle, we see you.
Yeah, for sure. But anyway, Genesis 19. First one. The two angels came to Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he rose to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. He said, "Please, my lords, turn aside to your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet, and then you can rise early and go on your way." They said, "No, we will spend the night in the square." But he urged them strongly, so they turned aside to him and entered his house. And he made them a feast and baked unleavened bread, and they ate. Pause. So he's doing this for the angels? That's what happened?
Yeah, a lot of this stuff is about hospitality. Or at least this is what I was taught, is that a lot of these lessons are about how important hospitality was in this time period.
Do angels even eat?
And let's put a pin in this, because I have a lot to say about angels.
And also, once again, they just introduce characters without anything.
This is the previous episode. Introducing anything. So, because at least before they started talking, they said, "Hey, two angels are coming into Sodom." So, I feel like we're improving.
Okay. Unpause. But before they lay down, the men of the city, the men of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, surrounded the house, and they called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us, so we may know them." Lot went out of the door to the men, shut the door after him, and said, "I beg you, my brothers, do not act so wickedly. Look, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Let me bring them out to you." What the hell?
Yeah.
And then,
remember, this is our good guy.
This is the nephew.
Yeah, this is Lot.
Okay. Verse 8, everyone. "Look, I have two daughters who have not known a man. Let me bring them out to you, and do to them as you please. Only do nothing to these men." So, you know what? Nope. I'll save all my critiques for the end. Do nothing to these men, for they have come under the shelter of my roof. But they replied, "Stand back." And they said, "This fellow came here as an alien, and he would play the judge. Now we will deal excuse me. Now we will deal worse with you than with them." Then they pressed hard against the man Lot and came near the door to break it down. But the man inside reached out their hands and brought Lot into the house with them and shut the door. And they struck with blindness the men who were at the door of the house, both small and great, so that they were unable to find the door. So basically, Lot auctioned his daughter so these men would come in and find these alien angels. And then they just got blinded when they barged in the door.
Lot the alien, because
no, I know they call Lot the alien, but because he's not from there. Yeah, I got that. I'm just saying, like, now they have superpowers or whatever. They made them blind.
Angels.
Okay, all right. Well, that's what just happened for anybody who didn't follow along. I know I paused a lot at the end there. Anyway, Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. Verse 12. Then the men said to Lot, "Have you anyone else here, son-in-laws, sons, daughters, or anyone you have in the city? Bring them out of the place, for we are about to destroy this place, because the outcry against its people has become great before the Lord, and the Lord has sent us to destroy it." The angels are saying this, by the way. So Lot went out and said to his son-in-law, who were to marry his daughters, "Up, get out of this place, for the Lord is about to destroy the city." But he seemed to his son-in-laws to be jesting. Does that mean joking?
Yes.
Okay. When morning dawned, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Get up, take your wife and your two daughters who were here, or else you will be consumed in the punishment of the city. But he lingered. So the men seized him and his wife and his 2 daughters by the hand, the Lord being merciful to him, and they brought him out and left him outside the city. When they had brought them outside, they said, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain." I remember this story because somebody's gonna look back and become blind. Anywhere in the plain.
Almost there.
No?
You're close, but no cigar.
Oh, for real? This isn't that story?
It is, but they don't get struck blind. You'll see.
Oh, okay. Something happens, right?
You're right.
Whatever. All right. I don't know. I was like 6 when they read this. And
That's why I'm reading it again.
School. Oh. Verse 17. I'm starting back at the top. When they had brought them outside, they said, "Flee for your life. Do not look back or stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the hills, or else you will be consumed." And Lot said to them, "Oh no, my lords, your servant has favor with you, and you have shown me great kindness in saving my life. But I cannot flee to the hills, for fear the disaster will overtake me and I die. Look, that city is near enough to flee to, and it is a little one. Let me escape there. It is not a little one. Question mark. And my life will be saved." He said to him,
It's kind of like, is it not a little one?
Yeah. He said to him, "Very well, I will grant you this favor too, and will not overthrow the city of which you have spoken. Hurry, escape there, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." You absolutely could.
Yeah.
You also, you know what? Save your critique to the end. Therefore, the city was called Zor. The sun had risen on the earth when Lot came to Zor. Then the Lord rained on Sodom and Gomorrah sulfur and fire from the Lord out of heaven, and he overthrew those cities and all of the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and what grew on the ground. But Lot's wife behind him looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Abraham went early in the morning to the place where he had stood before the Lord, and he looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah and toward all the land of the plain, and saw the smoke of the land going up like the smoke of a furnace. So it was that when God destroyed the cities of the plain, God remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, and when he overthrew the cities in which Lot had settled.
Do a quick pause. This is a really long chapter.
Yeah.
I
mean, I'm almost done, actually.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the next is the shameful origin of Moab, and Ammon.
Boys
Ammon?
are painful.
We're gonna call them Moab and Ammon.
Actually, I mean, mild trigger alert for this one too. Get ready for. Never mind. I'm not even gonna spoil it. Just know that this part's gonna be gross.
All right. Now Lot went out to verse 30. Now Lot went up out of Zor and settled in the hills, and his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to stay in Zor with his 2 daughters, for he was afraid to stay in Zor. So he lived in a cave with his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there's not a man on earth to come in to us after the name of all the world." Doesn't he fuck his daughters or something? Yeah, all right. "Come, let us make our father drink wine." Oh, God. "Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. He did not know when she lay down or when she rose. On the next day, the firstborn said to the younger, "Look, I lay last night with father. Let us make him drink wine tonight also." Where the fuck did they get this wine, by the way? Then they go, then you wait. Oh, all right. You know what? Nope. Save your critique to the end. All right. "Look, I lay with father last night. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. Then you go in and lie with him, so that we may preserve offspring through our father." So they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger rose and lay with him. And he did not know when she lay down or when she rose. Thus both the daughters of Lot became pregnant by their father. The firstborn bore a son and named him Moab, and he is the ancestor of the Moabites to this day. The younger also bore a son and named him Benami. He is the ancestor of the Ammonites to this day.
Yuck.
And
Thanks be to God. Ugh. So, where do you want to start?
yeah, but hold on just a second. If you can, I just need to grab something.
Yeah, sure. And I'm still waiting for you to come back to Zoom to fulfill this life been dreaming of. So don't.
All right, so just so I'm clear, all right, so let's just back this back up. The depravity of Sodom chapter. So the angels basically got there. They went to Lot's house.
I stuck a pin in this, so actually I get to talk about this. So I love talking about angels, and I'll be quick, but it's only because as Americans, like when we visualize, well, let me ask you this: when you visualize angels, what do you see? Your brain.
Angels in the Outfield.
That movie.
Movie with Jordan. What is his name?
No,
Jordan
I'm just describe to me what an angel looks like to you. If someone says angel, like let's say space alien came down and you want
They're wearing the old Jesus roby thing with wings coming out the back.
There you go.
Maybe a halo.
There you go. So that image is never described in the Bible, like that visual image of what we tend to think of, especially in classical, like religious art.
Somebody just made it up. Yeah.
No, I mean, kind of, but the Christian artists who painted those paintings and sculptures with these winged, beautiful, often female creatures, they were borrowing from sort of the Hellenistic Greek tradition of their gods, because they did, like, there's like Cupid and different entities that did have these wings, because that's how they got up and down from heaven. Right? So
go ahead, I'll let you finish.
So it's an evolution, because when you study art, when you study visual history, everything borrows from something else. So and especially when Christianity was gaining popularity, it was overtaking the pagan religion. But we still, even now, like in Christmas and Easter, there's so many remnants of the original pagan religion in what we call Christianity now. And we like to think we get all this stuff from the Bible, but the Bible, when it talks about angels, every time an angel shows up, it's just some dudes. It's just some guy. So yeah, to me, that's something that kind of gets glossed over a lot, because we never really question why. Because I remember learning that when I was younger, like there's no female angels in the Bible. You're right. Like this God person doesn't really, cater to doesn't really like the females too much. So yeah.
Just let me know when you're tagging me in.
You're in now.
All right. So you made a good point. First point is the fact that it just made me understand how primitive and short-sighted we may be as technologically advanced as we are in the modern era. To still believe in God as it pertains to the Bible, particularly. Because I think if we look back on history, like at paganism or Greek gods, whatever like that, like we look back on that time period like, oh fuck, these guys are fucking silly to think that, but it made good story, whatever. But like I just will in the next 100 years, 200 years, whatever, if global warming doesn't wipe us out, if generations will look back on this time period and be definitely. What the fuck were they thinking? Right. Like,
I hope, like, the only way we're gonna survive is if people better. And so the only way you have to look back, just like we look back on racists now and be like, God, yeah, y'all were going hard to just be hateful. And it's like you can look back now and just be like, oh, that's so gross. But at the time, it's like, well, we had to stop the Black menace. And so, and even back in like, in Greek classical times or whatever, when they still have all these different pagan religions and temples and stuff, if you were to point out, I'm like, yeah, I don't think Zeus is like real. And then it's like, oh yeah, then where does the thunder come from? Dum dum. And it's kind of like, I think it might be an electrical phenomenon that we're experiencing in both light and sonically, and we experience them at different times because light travels at a different speed than sound. And then you get stoned as a witch. So
Yeah. I find it very interesting. And I think that particularly it just amazes me because you have a lot of people who now will do that same thing. Be like, I know God is real. You can't tell me God isn't real because I felt it. I felt it. I felt it. And it's just, like God got me through stuff. Like I was at this point in my life. And I'm just like, yeah, maybe. But also human beings are just really resilient, and we do have the ability to adapt and change as well as history has continued to show us. So yeah, maybe it was God. I don't know. Again, that's why I'm agnostic or identify as agnostic. I don't fucking know. But what I do know is I'm also a realist and I like logic and I like things to be explained through practical methods that can be continuously proven. And we have yet to experience this physical entity to show us that there is a God. So I don't know what to say to that. But again,
what I would say, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, but again, I've gotten to a point in my life where I don't try to dissuade people from that. What I do is I ask questions, and they can ask me questions, and we can learn from each other and maybe help each other grow. But I just find it odd because at some point you kind of just feel like you're believing in Santa Claus to a degree.
Oh, listen, and let me say, well put, very well said. But you and I have had this conversation before about the whole Santa Claus thing because you say I'm an asshole because,
No, I didn't say you were an asshole. I just said, this is what I said. You as a child found out that Santa Claus wasn't real and you wanted to enlighten your classmates. So you let them know that Santa Claus wasn't real. What I took from that story is, whereas I can understand where you're coming from. I feel that if life, because I am an actual asshole. So if life has taught me anything, it's that people do not want your opinion when they did not ask for it, or they don't want you to give them mind altering advice or, whatever when they didn't ask for it. When you do it unasked, you become like, what is that? You become basically, they want to kill the messenger. And so that's all I was, is that like, yes, you aren't wrong, but yeah.
I know I wasn't wrong. I think everyone who was pissed off at me in first grade now realizes that I was right. I think it's a combination of things because I'm, one, calling their parents a liar, which they are. And I'm also figuring something out before they did, which is also, it's like, why is this mouthy black chick telling me this? So, and also too, like, it's like when you're confronted with any kind of information, like, let's just say, like if someone you're seeing is being unfaithful to you, a lot of times you do get pissed off at the person who's telling you, but later on it's kind of like, you know what, that was really good information. I'm much better off knowing this than not knowing it. So, and with the whole Santa Claus thing, to me, the truth is better. Your parents have money and care about you and buy you presents. To me, it was all about the presents. It's like, I don't have, just because, and listen, I told my son when he was little, like, I'm buying these presents. We still like took pictures with Black Santa Claus at the mall. But like at the end of the day, it's just treat it like a mascot. It's not like you have to. I don't hate Santa Claus. Like we just have to get rid of Santa Claus. It's like, just tell the truth. I'm buying these presents. We can leave out cookies. I'm gonna be up late putting all this stuff together. I'll eat them. And it's at the end of the day, the truth is just, to me, always better. You can make better decisions, move better throughout the world if you're actually concerned about the truth and want to move in the truth. And that's the thing, like with Mike, and I know people think it's like harmless, but you are hurting your credibility. Kids nobody likes to be lied to, even if it's like fun. It's like, oh yeah, and at the end of the day too, Santa is creepy. Like I told my son, if you see some fat white man walking through our house at night, holler, like he's not here to help us. So and that's real. Like I don't want him to be like, yay, Santa's here. It's like, mom, do that. Like, I mean, I'm done. Let's get back to the story.
Well, I just want to drop this other point in, and we can go back. So
okay,
we're moving Cody or with the stories. But the other thing I want to say is, I think that you made another good point as far as like, I'm not trying to get rid of Santa. I think we could, obviously keep him as a mascot. That's kind of how I feel about just the concept of God entirely. I think the more I've just evaluated or done some self-evaluation and thought, I feel like God should just be like a mantra. It's like if you watch Star Wars and they say, may the force be with you. Like, I feel like it should be like that.
Most people, though, that's deeply unsatisfying. That there's an impulse for humans to want to anthropomorphize everything. And so that's why originally there were like gods of everything. Like most religions start out kind of polytheists, because you see all these phenomena in the world that you can't explain. So it's like, oh, that must be some wind god doing that. And we want to envision it as this like super powerful, like person looking thing. But like, no, if there is some sort of, let's say, God, I don't think it, like you said, it's like a force. It's not like a person, but because we as people like the idea of like things being personified, then like that's why I think people are so resistant to give up this God character, even though he is wildly unpleasant. Like I said, even in the story, Lot is, I don't know who's the good guy in this story. Like,
so we haven't even identified that with the story. So if we could just relate that.
Well, back. I think originally, wasn't it that he's the good guy because he's the one being saved because everyone else is so depraved.
He's being saved, even though he just bitched out basically in front of a mob of people and was like, here, take my daughters. Like, what the fuck kind of shit is that? No. For some people that for angels, albeit that he doesn't even fucking know. Like, they just showed up at his doorstep and he was like, hey, come on in, pal.
But he knows they're angels, so they're from
fair. He knows they're angels, but I mean, I don't give a fuck. Like,
well, his daughter was growing up. He was talking about his son-in-law. So it's like, wait a minute, were they unknown by a man? Or I guess he made it sound like they were just like maybe engaged or whatever. But it's like, that was not cool. Like you're just gonna offer up your daughters to this mob just because it's like, oh, don't do this.
Cool. Not cool. Not cool.
Not cool at all. The mob.
Once again.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say just
because that was another tip I got, that we should change the name of the podcast because it's too broad, and we could change it to Once Again because we say that more than anything.
We'll discuss this off mic.
No, I'm not.
What I was going to say is this story just again shows like women are not like taken seriously, or like,
just a commodity.
Yeah, which. That's another conversation. Anyway,
and people, and we'll see more and more of it. And I think this is also too supposed to be like maybe early propaganda against like the Moabites and the Ammonites, because later, spoilers, later on they end up getting slaughtered by different Israelite and Hebrew tribes, because they, once again, if God finds that you've been wicked, then we get to sack your village. So it's very convenient.
Do you think this, just yes or no for the sake of time, but do you think that excuse me, do you think that we created the idea of or concept of God because humans have an inability to come to grips with their own insignificance in the universe?
Yes. I believe it's a huge reaction to our vulnerability, fragility, and ultimate mortality.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. All right, let's get to the other one so we have time for all of this. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to say anything else about chapter 19? And
Yeah, just quick points here. I already said pretty much what I needed about the depravity. I mean, he invites these angels in. The mob shows up. He's like, no, don't come in here. They're like, we're coming in. And then he basically offers up his daughters, which is a total fucking bitch move, but whatever. And then like they end up still going in, and then the angels have superpowers, so they blind everybody. But don't even like, it doesn't even seem like they permanently blinded them. They just like put down a flashbang basically so they couldn't be seen. Is like what I got from this. It's like SWAT type shit. And then in the Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed. So city was destroyed.
and this is
Lot's
also
wife.
like the big anti-gay story in the Bible. Because even though like
Okay.
they really don't hit on it,
Is that mentioned? Is that mentioned?
well, they said like all the men, young and old, came outside of his house and they wanted to have sex with the two male angels. So yeah, that's pretty gay.
Oh, is that what they wanted to do? They wanted to fuck the angels?
Yeah,
I did not take that.
so that we may know them. That's Bible talk for.
Oh, okay. I get. See, I don't know if it's just I have a spectrum of autism, but like I don't like. I feel like the Bible is the place where you shouldn't have innuendos, or you shouldn't have like slick talk. Like, say what the fuck you mean what the fuck you say. So like I took it like we want to come in, we want to know them because like maybe we've never fucking seen angels before. But you're telling
like any town, fresh meat. I'm tired of fucking all these other dudes. I want to, they want to have sex with somebody new. To sex with new people. Genesis chapter 20. Abraham and Sarah at Gerar. From there, Abraham journeyed toward the region of Negeb and settled between Kadesh and Shur. While residing in Gerar as an alien, Abraham said to his wife Sarah, "She is my sister." And King Abimelech of Gerar sent and took Sarah. But God came to Abimelech in a dream by night and said to him, "You are about to die because of the woman whom you have taken, for she is a married woman." Now Abimelech had not approached her, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent people? Did he not himself say to me, 'She is my sister'?" And she herself said, "He is my brother." I did this in the integrity of my heart and the innocence of my hands. Then God said to him in the dream, "Yes, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart. Furthermore, it was I who kept you from sinning against me. Therefore, I did not let you touch her. Now then, return the man's wife, for he is a prophet, and he will pray for you, and you shall live. But if you do not restore her, know that you will surely die, you and all that are yours." So Abimelech rose early in the morning and called all his servants and told them all these things. And the men were very much afraid. Then Abimelech called Abraham and said to him, "What have you done to us? How have I sinned against you that you have brought such great guilt upon me and my kingdom? You have done things to me that ought not be done." And Abimelech said to Abraham, "What were you thinking of that you did this thing?" And Abraham said, I did it because I thought, there's no fear of God at all in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she is indeed my sister, the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my wife. And when God caused me to wander from my father's house, I said to her, "This is the kindness you must do me. At every place to which we come, say to me, 'He is my brother.'" Then Abimelech took sheep and oxen and male and female slaves and gave them to Abraham and restored his wife to him. Abimelech said, "My land is before you. Settle where it pleases you." And to Sarah he said, "Look, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. It is your exoneration before all who are with you. You are completely vindicated." Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech and also healed his wife and the female slaves, so they bore children. For the Lord had closed fast all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. Thanks be to God. So
what the fuck is that?
So, I mean, we're kind of learning that Abraham's got a little bit of bitch assness in him, because he basically doesn't want any beef. I mean, I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Has anyone ever wanted to fight you over a girl?
Probably. I don't know.
You said probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
How many fights are you getting into?
No, I mean, yeah, I've been on both sides of that coin. So
Okay.
continue.
Okay, so so this is like Bible times. So it's kind of not the Wild Wild West, but yeah, I mean, people get killed over women now, or not women, but just over, spouses, people of interest, whatever. Like someone could be like, hey, I think I should be with her. I'm going to kill you now. So Abraham didn't want that to happen. I can't say that I just blame him for being afraid of his life, but it's like either you want a bad bitch or you don't. So if you don't, it's not easy. Like you're going to have to deal with other people trying to approach her if you have an attractive spouse, like that's male or female. Like if you're with someone who's attractive, you're going to have to deal with other people perhaps trying to encroach on your territory. You just need trust. Now, it seems like marriage is sort of a universal concept. Even this Abimelech guy was like, hey, why don't you tell me this is your wife? I get that. I've got a ton of wives. I don't want anybody else sleeping with them. And it also sounds like God, maybe he said he closed all the wombs, but he also said like basically God kept Abimelech from sleeping with Sarah. So maybe he like cursed him with impotence for a while. That's kind of fun. And also too, it's just super weird. It just seems weird to me that the king would give Abraham like all this mailing, once again, lots of slavery. God has no problem with slavery. He was like, hey, Abraham, I'm going to look out for you. I'm going to curse this king because he's trying to sleep with your sister/wife. And I'm going to make him impotent. Nobody's going to be able to have kids in his kingdom until he does right by you and gives you a bunch of slaves and money and land. And once again, like technically from the point of view of this book, Abraham is our protagonist, but yeah. I just don't really like him.
He's no Tony Soprano. I'll give him that.
Once again, I'm not really cheering for Tony Soprano either. He's interesting to watch. Once again, this is an interesting story, very much like Cersei and Jaime, but I'm not cheering for you.
I totally was, but that's neither here nor there.
I'm more cheering for these male and female slaves that he was just given. Hopefully they can get free at some point. Hopefully they can run off. And won't have some angel telling them, hey, go back to your master. What are you doing? But yeah, but I guess if I had to break that down to a beginning, middle, end, Abraham and Sarah go into a place, don't want to get in trouble because Sarah's hot, apparently. And Abimelech finds out in a dream. Once again, like they give a lot of credence. I have a lot of dreams. I usually don't make any decisions off of them. And the fact too that Abimelech seems to, it's like, wow, that's kind of cool. Like the God of this guy is talking to me, or everyone's real casual about talking to God too.
Yeah, it'd be nice if he,
But everything
did that now
for Abraham because he's been keeping his covenant and chopping all them foreskins off.
I don't know. All right, moving on. Genesis 21, the birth of Isaac, Hagar, and Ishmael sent away. Abraham and Abimelech make a covenant.
So we're kind of going out of order too. Like I feel like this is all stuff because this all had to have happened before Sarah had Ishmael. So whatever.
Yeah, well, it's like the movies. Sometimes they go out of order. Rearrange timelines, whatever.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna really not interrupt. You go crazy.
All right, so the birth of Isaac. The Lord dealt with Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did for Sarah as he had promised. Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age, and at the time of which God had spoken to him. Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son, whom Sarah bore him. And Abraham circumcised his son Isaac when he was 8 days old, as God had commanded him. Abraham was a husband. Was 100. He was also a husband. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Now Sarah said, God has brought laughter for me. Everyone who hears will laugh with me. Ha 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 ha. And she said, who would ever have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age. Hagar and Ishmael are sent away. The child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast on the day that Isaac was weaned. But Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, playing with her son Isaac. So she said to Abraham, cast out this slave woman with her son, for the son of this slave woman shall not inherit along with my son Isaac. The matter was very distressing to Abraham on account of his son. Real nigga shit. But God said to Abraham, do not be distressed because of the boy and because of your slave woman. Whatever Sarah says to you, do as she tells you, for it is through Isaac that offspring shall be named for you. As for the son of the slave woman, I will make a nation of him also, because he is your offspring. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and a skin of water, and gave it to Hagar, putting it on the shoulder, along with the child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered about it in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water in the skin was gone, she cast the child under one of the bushes. Then she went and sat down opposite him in a good way off, about the distance of a bow shot. Who gives a fuck how far it was? This is a fucking novel. Jesus. Like, what? For she said, do not let me look on the death of the child. And as she sat opposite, she lifted up her voice and swept. And God heard the voice of the boy, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven and said to her, what troubles you, Hagar? Do not be afraid. Oh, God, you could have showed up any other time before we were about to die. But hey, I guess you just like coming in the clutch.
Away something, jeez.
For God has heard the voice of the boy where he is. Come, lift up the boy and hold him fast with your hand, for I will make a great nation of him. Yeah, you could have told us that before you left. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. God was with the boy, and he grew up. He lived in the wilderness and became an expert with the bow. He lived in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother got a wife for him from the land of Egypt. Abraham and Abimelech make a covenant. At the time, Abimelech with Fichel. We'll say Fichel. At the time, Abraham with Fichel, the commander of his army, said to Abraham, God is with you in all that you do. Now, therefore, swear to me here by God that you will not deal falsely with me or my offspring or with my posterity, but as I have dealt loyally with you, they spelled loyally wrong, I think. With you, you will deal with me and with the land where you have resided as Naaman. Abraham said, I swear it. When Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized, Abimelech said, I do not know who has done this. You did not tell me, and I have not heard of it until today. So Abraham took sheep and oxen and gave them to Abimelech, and the two men made a covenant. Abraham set apart 7 ewe lambs of the flock, and Abimelech said to Abraham, what is the meaning of these 7 ewe lambs that you have set apart? He said, these 7 ewe lambs you shall accept from my hand, in order that you may be a witness for me that I dug this well. Get the fuck out of here. Okay.
It's the kind of stuff that illiterate people do because there's no contracts, because you can't read. So it'll be like, hey, I don't act like we didn't come up with this agreement. That's why you have those 7.
I get the concept. I'm just okay. Therefore,
and there's no toilet paper.
Therefore, that place was called Beersheba, because there both of the men swore an oath. When they had made a covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech with Phicol, the commander of his army, left and returned to the land of the Philistines. Abraham planted a tamarisk tree in Beersheba and called there on the name of the Lord, the everlasting God. And Abraham resided as an alien many days in the land of the Philistines. Okay.
Thanks be to God.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the more and more I learn about Abraham, the more I do not like him. This guy is just, ugh. For one, stand up to your wife/sister and be like, look, woman, you made me have sex with her. She's having my oldest son. I'm not going to send her, because that's a death sentence. Like, even like, you're just going to send this woman out into the wilderness with some bread and water, like, so she doesn't die immediately. And I know it's supposed to be about, oh, this angel came and like heard her and saved her or whatever, but you didn't know that was going to happen. And also too, don't like Sarah, because she's like, I don't want this slave woman and son inheriting what my son inherits. Now that sounds mad real. Like, and that's very similar to in America what happened. Like, people forget, like, a lot of African Americans have the same last names as a lot of the slaveholders who had them, not because they're just like, oh, I want to take on my master's name. It's because they were related to him. Like, that man is my father. Like, a lot of people have the same last name as their father. So in America, that's why there's a case for reparations, because we were disinherited for generations and generations because we weren't allowed to inherit, because it's like, you're Black, you don't have any sort of social standing. And also too, like, white women are like, I don't want my white children treated the same as your bastard mulattoes. So once again, I don't like Sarah either. Like, she's no one to look up to. And the fact that, like, these seem to be God's favorite people and he's making deals with them, it makes me not really like God all that. The character of God in this book. Like, when I say God, I'm not talking about whatever, if there is a real God and it's out there, whatever it's doing, it could make itself known or be clearer about all this stuff. But whoever this character is in the Bible, like, I don't know, man. I don't like it.
I'm just reading this, man, because if this is the thing that people swear by, this is not good literature, mind you. So I don't
definitely the sequence isn't good, because once again, this story should have come early. Like, if this is, because apparently
I can do the flashback storytelling. I mean, that, they do that in novelization. I'm fine with that. But again, in a book that is supposed to be the book of books, and it's basically, it's a historical document, but it's also supposed to be, I don't know, a research document or informational document, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Historical?
Like, no, I already said historical. It's a historical document, but it's also like an informative document, I guess, as well. Like, it's supposed to inform us
you mean
about,
You mean morally inform us, or?
Yeah, sure, whatever. The point I'm making is, I just feel like the information should be straightforward. It shouldn't be this bounce back and forth, introducing characters, people. Like, I honestly don't know what's going on. I'm not invested at all. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like look at this as a, I know we're not reading the novel, so this isn't I don't know what book, whatever book comes to mind. I know this isn't that, but it is also just, it's a story. It is a story, and it's a story that has been pushed to people for a long, long time, and it's not a good one so far. It's really not. It's
like,
actually,
I've read better.
It's actually very irritating, and it's even with this new revised standard version, with it's no longer the Shakespearean, you have to figure it out word puzzle that's going on. I'm still finding myself like, what the fuck are they even talking about? Like, and what are you talking about, and why should I give a shit?
Well, it also too, this is, since we're born in America and it's like freedom and equality for all, and to me, what always kind of I couldn't articulate it when I was younger was the fact that these sort of, God playing favorites, where it's like, oh yeah, I've selected these people and I'm going to help them out and be kind to them. But like Abimelech and them Ammonites and all them other people, fuck them hard. Like what you, and like we're given this narrative about this area. I guess this is like technically in the Middle East, like they're talking about, they're near Egypt apparently. So like in technical, and I would remind everybody too, like this is very near Africa. So these would be dark people. I know we like all of our visuals of these stories from the Bible. Like even if you had like an illustrated Bible, they were all very, very light European looking people. No, these would have been dusty, short, like Middle Eastern African people. Very diverse looking, and once again, people were just shorter back then. So yeah, just something fun to keep in mind when we're visualizing these stories, but also the fact too that the rest of civilization was happening around this time too. Like there was stuff happening in China, India, South, in the Sudan. Like there's a lot of stuff going on around the world, but we're just concentrated on this story because we were just told it's the best book in the world, but it's really just the first book that ever got printed, like mass printed in this modern era. And it was just made popular before people, universal literacy was a thing. So we really just learned about it through story, like story pictures. And it's been wildly inaccurate because so far it seems like it's mostly about incest and cattle.
Yeah, and I'm gonna try to find it for next time maybe, but there's this thing, there's like this meme type thing that's like, if you're looking for incest in the Bible, if you're looking for sex in the Bible, if you're looking for honesty, I'm paraphrasing, if you're looking for belief, if you're anything you're looking for in the Bible, you will find it. And the point of the post is that, like, as a believer, if you try to go in like, I'm gonna critique this, or I'm going to look at this thing like this is bullshit, then like, yeah, you're gonna find it that way. So it basically tries to steer you more towards like, have faith type mentality. That's the point of the post, or at least that was my interpretation of it.
It's fine. It's important to remember because I've always been taught that faith is a virtue, but
I don't even know what a virtue is. What does that even mean?
Oh, so like virtue and vice are like opposites. So virtue are good things about your character, and vice is something that's bad about your character. So a virtue would be like, oh, I'm very generous and I like to help people. And a vice would be, I like to drink too much and get into fights at bars.
Okay, so when people say patience is a virtue, it's basically like saying patience is a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good characteristic to have.
Gotcha.
And so I've been told that faith is a good virtue, but as I think back now, it's like, no, like faith was always explained to me as like faith in or believing in things that without proof. And that's not a good thing. Like you should, there's nothing wrong with asking for proof before you believe something. And it's important to remember that faith brought down the Twin Towers. So it's very motivating, sure, but it's not a virtue. Like if they had just taken a minute to be like, so wait, I'm gonna like blow up these towers with all these people in the plane, but it's so that we can bring on like this, the great caliphate, to the world. Like to them, that's a good thing, but it was like, no, it's actually a very bad thing. And it all started because I don't know. I feel like faith kind of poisons logic. And I know like logic isn't the end all be all.
Oh, absolutely.
But there's nothing wrong with asking. And that's the thing too. I don't know about you. I got in trouble for asking questions about this.
No, I mean, I did. I didn't necessarily get in trouble, but I know I frustrated a lot of my teachers because I would ask things. I remember very vividly, actually, Mr. Basso was like my sophomore or junior theology teacher. And he was teaching us something. I can't remember what he was teaching us that day, but I was just like, oh, let me ask you something. And then we were in the middle of class, and I was just like, so you're teaching us this. You're here. You're saying, basically Jesus is the way, my brother. And you're teaching me this, but thousands of miles away, in some other country, they're being taught the same thing, and they're being taught it, they're being taught the same thing essentially. So like, who's right? And nobody can ever really answer that. And they're just like, well, you got to believe, you got to have faith. Like, what the fuck is that? Like, no, what I feel like is, and I'm, one thing I did take out of school is like one of my other theology teachers used to say, luck favors the prepared. And if you apply that to this concept, I think that since you were talking about faith and how it poisons logic, I feel that in life, like, yeah, things might naturally, or things might happen for you that are very like, oh damn, I don't even know how that happened. But I also think that energy is a thing. So like when you, and also to a degree, just, you know, a lot of this shit is just random. But I think that when you put in the work, or you're at least showing the work in life, like I'm trying to do this thing, you might reach points in your life where I don't know how the fuck I'm gonna do this thing, but the work was there. So then you essentially end up getting some type of, I don't know, back pay or whatever, and it ends up rewarding you down the road. So it's like, but you did.
It helps you to see the opening for your luck. A lot of times, if you're prepared, instead of just waiting for luck to come to you, it helps you to be like, "Ooh, this is my chance. Let me get in."
That was always my frustration with the Bible, because people would just say believe, but they would never like add the other thing. Like, you know, I could pray all day for God to help me or just give me more money or whatever, but if I don't go out there and try to make it happen, then it's not gonna fucking happen.
That reminds me of I think this is like a saying from like Islam, and I don't know how to say it in Arabic, so sorry if I'm getting it wrong. But just like basically the English translation is trust in Allah, but tie up your camel. Like, you can have all the faith you want, but at the end of the day, just exercise some common sense. And also, just we're doing it now. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. We're both still here. I think because I used to be a believer, so one of the things that's really scary about like examining your beliefs is because it's like, well, what if I lose it and then I'm a bad person because I don't have faith anymore? Like, how am I gonna like know like whether to get an abortion or not, or you know, what's the right thing to do in certain situations? And here's the thing, it takes work. Like it's a lot easier to be like, well, I'll just ask my pastor, and it's like, don't do that. Like and not to say there aren't good pastors out there, but to me, like most of the pastors I've encountered are kind of megalomaniac, like yeah, not all of them.
I'm gonna become a pastor one day, by the way, everyone. So just so y'all know.
Say that again.
I say for everyone, I'm doing this now, but I'm gonna become a pastor one day.
I always
a lot of money in it.
Make an excellent pastor.
It's a lot of money in it.
That's where all the money is. So,
and I say that.
But yeah, if anyone, you know, it's what about you? Like, when did you like figure out, like, because it probably wasn't just like one moment, but when can you like first remembering being like, I think this might just be wrong?
I'll say probably junior high school. Like that's when I started having a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Prior to that, like it was just more
probably just when your reading skills were high enough.
Could be. And like, you know, you start to, I think that makes sense around that age, because that's the age where you're starting to do more experience stuff outside of like your parents and immediate family. And so like you start to gauge your own view of the world. And like you recognize I think those moments like between junior high school is when you also start to recognize like your parents are not perfect. They're not gods, essentially. Like they are prone to, you know, mistakes just like anyone else. And so
and they've been talking about all that Santa Claus crap.
Yeah. So when I found out Santa Claus was a real, sidebar, I wasn't actually crushed though. I was just
either. I'm still getting I figured it out because I found the presents in the closet. I was like,
Sorry, I'm in another Zoom call. Wow, I'm like,
then you'd be doing too much. Let's just sign off for now. Wait, we're gonna do next time on Bible Breakdown?
Well, stick a pin in that for next time. But next time on Bible Breakdown, yeah, man, they gotta send these damn Zoom calls. It's so I hate meetings. But anyway.
Oh, okay. So next time on the Bible Breakdown, we're going to talk about the command to sacrifice Isaac. I can't wait to talk about this because it really gets into, once again, why I do not like Abraham. Like if he was alive today, he would be in a mental institution. So he's not the guy to fight. Oh, whatever. We'll get to it then. But thank you for your time, sir. Your other meeting.
Thank you for your time, everyone. It's really appreciative of everything. And yeah, I will talk to you soon.
Adios.
Peace.